In this video, we're going to talk about how to hold your trumpet. So go ahead and grab your horn any old way with your right hand here. And to get started, we're going to take the thumb of the left hand and place it through the saddle that's on top of the first valve slide. So you just stick your thumb right through there, and then once you've got your thumb in the saddle, you wrap your thumb around the valve casing of the first valve. If your trumpet does not have a saddle here, it doesn't make any difference. Just go ahead and wrap your thumb around the valve casing here on the first valve. From here, you're going to take the pointer finger of the left hand and wrap it around the valve casing on the other side. So from here, you should have a pretty good grip on the horn and not be in any real danger of dropping it. Now, the remaining three fingers of your left hand, there's going to be some variation here from player to player depending on your hand size and what's most comfortable for you. The most important thing is that you get one of your fingers in this ring of the third valve slide. This is so you can control the third valve slide while you play the trumpet. So the way I like to hold my horn is like this. I've got my pointer finger, middle finger wrapped around the valve casing. My ring finger is in the ring of the third valve slide so I can move the slide while I play. And I've got my pinky finger down here wrapped around the valve casing on the bottom. So if you have larger hands, or if this feels uncomfortable for you, you can also try this position where your middle finger is then controlling the third valve slide, and you have two fingers wrapped around the valve casing on the bottom. And some players like to hold their horns like this, with all four fingers of the left hand on top and the third ring finger in the ring of the third valve slide. So once you've got a position that feels comfortable for your hand size, you want to make sure that you have a pretty firm grip on the instrument. One, obviously, so you're not in any danger of dropping your horn. And two, when you start to work the valves, you want to make sure that the movement of the valves up and down doesn't bounce your horn too much while you're playing, which can cause a wobbly tone. Now that you've got a good grip on the horn with your left hand, you're going to take the thumb of your right hand, stick it out straight, and then place it right on the valve casing of the first valve. So your thumb, again, is straight and resting on the valve casing of the first valve. From here, you're going to take your pointer, middle, and ring finger and place those on the first, second, and third valve, respectively. When you're operating the valves, you want to make sure that you're using the ball or the pad of your finger to come in contact with the valve cap to work the valve up and down. In other words, we're not using the tips of our fingers, which is going to give us a weaker movement, as well as curl our hand in a little bit more and can cause cramping in the hand and forearm. And we're not going to go over the top of the valves and press the valves up and down with flat fingers, which is just going to give us generally sloppier movements. But rather, we're going to be careful to use the ball of the finger to press down the valves. This is going to give us the greatest control as well as the most amount of freedom in our hand and arm, so we'll be able to play for longer periods of time without fatigue. Once you've got your thumb straight and on the valve casing and your three fingers working the valves with the balls or the pads of the fingers, your pinky is just going to float in the air while you play. We are not going to put our pinky into the pinky ring on the main lead pipe here while we practice. The reason that the pinky ring is there is just for those instances in performance where we need to insert or remove a mute quickly, or we need to turn a page of music while we're playing so we can hold the instrument with the right hand. But while we're practicing, we want to make sure to keep our pinky out of the ring. The problem with putting your pinky into the ring is that it leads to a habit of exerting a little bit more mouthpiece pressure against the lips while we play. This is going to have a negative impact on your sound, your endurance, and your long-term embouchure development. So you really want to make sure to keep that pinky out of the ring. It's going to be very tempting to put your pinky into the ring. So a very simple tactic that I used to get in the habit of having my pinky just floating out here was to take a slip of paper, fold it in half, tape the edges, and then put a staple through the middle. So I've got a finished product here. Very fancy, as you can see. And then we take this and we just slide it right over the pinky ring to act as a little guard. If you practice with a slip of paper in here like this, it's going to remind you each time you try to put your pinky into the ring, whoops, get that thing out of there. It's a very, very simple and effective way to develop the habit of keeping your pinky out of the ring, which again is going to help the development of your embouchure by alleviating some of that backward mouthpiece pressure that we get in the habit of putting on. It's also going to help develop independence and flexibility in your third finger. So, make one of these, stick it on there. Now, as you're getting ready to play, it's important to have an upright, athletic posture with your feet firmly planted on the ground. The reason that posture is so important while we're playing is, while this thing isn't necessarily all that heavy, you're going to be holding it for prolonged periods of time. And if you have bad posture, you can start to get a tight back, tight shoulders, tight neck, all of these little problems that come up through repetitive movement. Your posture is very important. Also, you want to be able to distribute the work of playing as evenly across your body as possible. This is going to help with your endurance, and it's going to make playing much, much easier. So, as we bring the horn to our face, we want to make sure that the elbows are out wide enough to allow our rib cage to expand while we're breathing. If we're in too close, we can actually sort of inhibit the breathing mechanism. So we want to make sure that our elbows are out so we've got plenty of room to take an inhalation. The next note is that, like I said, we bring the horn to our face, not our face to the horn. We want to maintain the same upright posture with a nice natural head and neck alignment and bring the trumpet to that position. Obviously, this is going to keep our throat and neck nice and open to allow the passage of air. It's going to help our sounds, and again, it's going to prevent us from getting overly tight when we play. All of these rules apply to sitting as well. So when you get into a chair, resist the temptation, resist the urge to sit back and play like this. You're going to run into the same problems if you do this as if you're standing up and playing with some weird kind of posture as well. So if you show up to one of my gigs and I'm slouched back in the chair, shame on me. You can do better. Remember, keep a nice, upright, athletic posture, elbows out, bring the horn to your face.